Hey Cheryl, how you
Hey,
been?
I'm really well, Inga. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Busy, busy, busy.
Summer
Lots
always brings extra challenges for busyness for us.
oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it's especially with this, starting my podcast and everything else. It's like just crazy learning. Everything that's involved with everything. Just amazing. I didn't know there was so much involved.
Well, I am super excited that you decided to do this podcast because I think it's one that's really needed.
Yeah,
And so I'm kind of honored that you have me here today on your first one to chat with you about it all.
yeah,
So
I'm
thank
happy to have you.
you. Yeah, thanks. I'm so excited to share with everybody too, a conversation with you so you can tell them on what the podcast is about and what you're going to be talking about and why you started and all of these different questions I have for you. So why don't we just kind of dig right in? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so I would absolutely love it if you tell me what did make you decide to start this podcast and how you came up with the name.
Okay, so mainly the reason why I started is because my son, he has high functioning autism along with speech delay. And he didn't actually start until he didn't start talking until he was about 4 years old. And so with that, I kind of knew that he was delayed, of course, because he wasn't talking. And so I took the initiative to actually do a bunch of research and learn on my own on how to actually teach him, like teach him his emotions, teach him comprehension skills, teach him reading, writing, independent skills. I mean, I taught him all that all before he started kinder. And so that I think is actually a pretty good. I mean, now we communicate with each other, and he tells us what he wants. He's just a normal, not normal, totally normal, but he's basically on the whole, he talks like us, but he just has a hard time still with his speech because he talks too fast. And so that's another thing that we're trying to work with him is just calm down his speech, and also, like, of course, certain words he still has a hard time with, like certain sounds and stuff like that. And so, but he's willing to actually learn how to say him. Like, say if he does it wrong, I just tell him, okay, well, I repeat it to him and I tell him, okay, say it this way. And so he's learning, and he's doing a lot better. But I'm just glad that he's communicating now.
And how old is he now?
He's 13.
He's 13.
Yeah.
So obviously he's your inspiration for doing this,
Oh, yes.
but what are you trying to achieve with it? Like, who are you hoping to help? Because I know you like to help people. So,
Well, I just want to help people know that, this journey that they're on is not something that they have to be on their own. There's resources, there's support and everything else. I mean, it's great to reach out because I wish I would have reached out more when I was going through this, because I just kind of put it all on myself and just, did everything on my own. And I actually got off social media for like about 10 years just so I can concentrate on my son and teach him what I need to know, what he needed. And so that, I think, kind of put me into a rabbit hole, because then, I kind of like wasn't very social, wasn't, I was really concentrated on him, and it kind of like made me, I think, into more of a different space. But another way, I'm still happy that I did it, because now my son, he's thriving. I mean, he's doing a lot better. I mean, a lot of people are very impressed with him,
mhm.
including his doctors, his teachers, his speech therapists, everyone that runs into him. They're just like, wow, what did you do with your son? How is your son this way? And I just think it's more, a lot of patience, and you got to learn your child. You got to
Mhm.
pay attention to how they learn. And I mean, they teach you. That's the way I always say, is like, my son taught me how to teach him, and I'm learning from him, from how to be with him, how to communicate with him, how to teach him, how to everything. It's just, you got to just pay attention. You got to like really cue on to what they're, how they act, how they react. And so I mean, that's my thing. It's
Mhm.
just took a lot of work, but
Yeah, it's funny. I do think that a lot of times we think that we have to do things alone.
mhm,
And there always seems to come to the point where you do reach out for help.
yeah,
from somebody. And so I actually think that what you're trying to do here with the podcast is a really special thing, because no matter what we go through, we're not the only person going through that. And so you have gained so much experience over the years that I'm sure the stories that you share and everything else are going to help shorten the learning curve, if you want to call it a learning curve. And even though I understand completely that every child is different and every experience is going to be different, I truly believe that people could learn from what you've already been through. So as you go through your podcast, what kind of information are you going to be sharing?
Well, I'm gonna be sharing like bits and pieces of like how I taught my son. I'm gonna be like showing like videos like when he was younger, and like how he kind of progressed on the way, like to where right now. And then also I'm gonna probably be showing and sharing, like what kind of like what I did with him, like especially with his emotions. I think that's very important with the autism community, because a lot of kids on the spectrum don't know emotions and they can't regulate them. And so that's something I actually taught my son, which I didn't even know was a thing. I just taught him just because I thought that was actually something, he needed. I thought it was just something fun and exciting for him to do. And then the comprehension, I just taught him, like, I just read with him every day, just like mainly Dr. Seuss books. I mean, he loves Dr. Seuss. And so the way I did that is by just like, I read a story to him and like I'll pause, like say the title, like Cat in a Hat, I would like pause. I'd like, oh, the cat in the, and then I'll pause and I won't finish it. And then he'll look up at me and go, cat or a hat, whatever the part is that was missing. And so, cause I always thought he wasn't paying attention to me, because he would always be running around the room or doing something else or whatnot. And so I was like, okay, well, is he even listening to me? But then I realized that that's how I knew he was listening to me, is by pausing, and he would like look up at me and go, okay, and then he'll finish whatever I was trying to do. And that's how I taught him his numbers, taught him his alphabets, how I quiz him, everything, it's just like, that's the way I learned how to teach him. And I'm hoping that maybe it can help others too, because maybe that's how their child learns too. It's just, you got to pay attention to, how they're reacting to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully that's, I just want to help see if that helps with everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Now, you mentioned that you're going to be showing some videos and stuff of when he's younger. Are you actually going to share that on a particular podcast too, or is that something that will go on? I'm kind of making an assumption that you're going to have a YouTube channel. Is that something that kind of thing would be like on a separate playlist where you're sharing that kind of stuff, or will that actually be part of your podcast?
I think it's gonna be part of my podcast, because I think that'd be good to show that, also the journeys, because I'm also talking about my journey too. I know this is about our autism journeys, but it's also gonna be about like my journey to share with everyone else. And so that, that I was going through it too. And so that's why I figured, might as well include that, the little, just a little clips of what's going on with my journey and how I did with my son.
Just a little aside there, though, I do think it would be really interesting if you actually do upload the actual full videos on a separate playlist, because I know that I would be interested in seeing some of that myself. Just, I always like to see how people interact and everything. So that kind of stuff always fascinates me. But I also, am making an assumption here, but you're going to be having other autism moms on the show with you. That's who you're going to be interviewing, or
yes,
tell
definitely.
me about that.
So I'm gonna be having like everyone, basically anyone that wants to share their journey with their autism journey. Like it could be either like a teacher, a special ed teacher. It could be ABA therapist, occupational therapy, everything, anything that has to do, even aunts, uncles, relatives, grandmas, basically anybody that would like to share how they perceive, their autism in their journey with dealing with autism. And so I think that's a good idea too, because it's just like everyone has a journey to share.
Yeah.
And so I just want to be able to see like all different points of views.
I love the fact that you're including more than just the moms, because I think that is important because, um, as an aunt, as a sister, as a grandmother or whatever, you probably have, as that individual has concerns too about what can I do to help. And so, especially if it's a new parent that discovers that their child is, autistic. And so I think that's going to be very, very helpful for a lot of people, for a lot
Mhm.
of people. Do you have a set of guests already in mind that you're going to be starting with?
Yeah, I actually have upcoming Sharon. She's going to be sharing about how her nonverbal son actually wrote a play, even, using his devices and to actually write a play, and he actually was able to screenplay it and everything. And it really, people really came out and saw it, and they praised him very well for it.
Wow.
We have
He's,
him.
he's
Uh,
nonverbal and he wrote a play.
yeah,
Wow.
that's amazing. I mean, so that's definitely something that's I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
hearing more about.
Hmm.
And also I have another lady that was on here. She was a special ed teacher, and she was talking about, how she helps her autism children in class. And then we also got into the whole subject of IEPs. And
About
so
about what?
IEPs,
I'm not familiar with that. What
an
is
IEP is for the child, like for independence, studies. And
okay?
so it helps the child when a lot of kids on the spectrum and disabilities and stuff like that, they have IEPs to where they get special services through the school. And
Okay.
so that's why I think it's called individual. I forgot what it's called. I'm so used to saying IEP that
IEP. So it's something along the lines of, I know when my kiddo was growing up, he had some learning disabilities. And so we dealt with PPTs and everything has these little,
yeah,
these little initials that you do it with, but it's to help get services basically.
yes,
Is
yes,
oh,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah,
Speaking of which, I think that's a really important thing that, people are can be helped with too, because when he was going through the stuff and we knew that we needed to get service for him, we weren't getting any help. And it's because we didn't know the language to use. And I had a friend that has a autistic child, and she knew for Connecticut all the right things to ask for and say. And she taught me those words. And the second that I used those words to the first teacher I talked to, boom, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, yes, here's our meetings, and everything fell into place. And so when you're in the situation and you're not told that kind of stuff, it could be so frustrating because, you're asking for help, you're not getting it. And, at the time, I had no idea you needed to know a secret language.
yeah, exactly. I know it is actually. I mean, when you have IEPs, it's very, there's sometimes they have even advocates come out and help you, because sometimes it's so confusing and you have other people, that you need help to understand it more.
Mhm.
And so, but the teacher I talked to, she is telling me about, Nicole. She is telling me about how everything, like how her perspective, how she does her IEPs with parents and stuff like that. So, I mean, I thought it was actually really cool how so we get her side of view, but versus the parents,
Right.
So it was a good conversation about that.
Hmm. And so, I'm not sure what questions exactly to ask you about what else that you want to share with everybody that's listening to this today. But I would love to hear, just more about the kind of stories that you think you're going to share, or if there's like an example you want to give me right now of a story, or if you just want to share with everybody more about what you're looking to achieve with the podcast. So we'll leave it an open-ended question, however you want to answer it.
Okay, so well, I'm actually I forgot to mention too that I know I mentioned mainly about women, but also I'm gonna be having a man actually on here too. He's gonna share his journey with his son, and he's really good too. I mean, he's pretty popular with the autism community. He helps with everybody. He supports a lot of it, and so I'm really looking forward to him, because he's gonna be my first man,
Uh,
on the podcast. So it's gonna be definitely something different. And then also, so mainly in my podcast, I just want people to know that, of course, they're not alone, in this journey. And I want them to know that they're being supported, they're being heard, they're being seen. And people do want to hear other parents, or, people's experience,
Mhm.
with their journeys with their child, or with their child, their adult child, anybody,
Mhm.
and I think it's very important that we start getting more awareness out here for the
Mhm.
autism community, and know that, because so many of us are so alone, and we feel defeated, and we feel, like we think that we're not great parents or great advocates or anything for our children, but, we are. And we just have to learn that, that it's just, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
I mean, like I always say, I always say my son is, the journey with him is a never ending learning journey,
Mhm.
because I'm constantly learning, constantly, we don't know what's going to come up from the next, we just like, everything's new.
Mhm. And
You know?
again, you brought up just this thought in my head all the time that it is so important for people to know that they're not alone. Again, everybody has their own unique journey, and that's will always be true, but you're never traveling the path alone if you choose not to, you
Mhm.
know? And so for the new moms that are just finding out and just starting their journeys, are you also going to have like resources somewhere that, were you thinking about doing that? Like you mentioned a bunch of communities that
Mhm.
you belong to. How do people find those communities? Will you be offering, that kind of support in the sense that you're going to give them that kind of information?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If they, anybody can reach out to me anytime. You can ask me any questions, anything. I'm always here to answer, always here to, I'm a listening ear. I can give you advice. I can tell you what I did with my son, anything. I'm always here.
Mhm.
and resources, I did a lot of research on that too. I just did a lot of Google searching, like for communities, mainly on Facebook. They have a lot of communities on there. And then also, like, I think in different states, of course, they have different communities also. And
Mhm.
so sometimes you can just do a search for that. But I mean, you can always reach out to me, and I can always help you find, find
I
community that
hope I hope I don't embarrass you with this question, or if it's not an inappropriate question, but as you're speaking and everything, I know now what the goal of your podcast is and everything, but have you ever actually thought about offering coaching services? I think you would
um
be really good at it.
yeah, I see myself more as like a mentor,
Okay.
because since I already have been going through this journey with my son, and I think I can, help with that. And so it's more like a mentoring thing I think I can do, because I think everyone needs a mentor in some point of their life, because, especially with the autism, journey, because it's just easier to hear from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm actually mentoring somebody right now,
Oh.
and her son is actually, he's actually nonverbal, and he's the same age as my son. And actually, actually has the same birthday as my son too. So they're going to be 14, this year. And so I thought that was pretty amazing that, her son is like pretty much like my son,
Mm-hmm.
but he's nonverbal still. And so we're trying to work on trying to get him to be a little bit more vocal. And so that's why, and so I'm helping her with that. And I'm just telling her some things I did with my son.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's almost like you're guiding them a little bit too. I like that word too instead of coach. You're guiding,
yeah,
guiding and mentoring. I like that. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's why that's my goal. So I just want to help people, I just know how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want other people to feel the same way I did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I first started this whole journey, because it was not a good place. And right now, I'm getting into a better place, and I can help people. I want to help people.
Yeah, as I said, it's so important that when people have walked the path before, that they're willing to share it because why keep that knowledge to yourself when you could help somebody else get through it with more grace, with more ease, and so I really love what you're doing. And tell everybody too, though, how they could watch the podcast.
Well, it's gonna be on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody streamed on YouTube, and then eventually I'm thinking about getting into the other podcasts like
The other
Apple,
platforms. Mm-hmm.
Spotify, and all that stuff. But once I get more comfortable and once I get more stuff going on, then I'll get into the actual podcast area.
You mentioned to me when we were just chatting a little bit before coming on that you're not necessarily comfortable on camera and
Yes.
doing well. I got to tell you, I think you look perfectly comfortable.
Really?
And so you're doing really great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I just know that I'm here to help people, and so that's why I got to keep reminding myself, like, you're doing a good thing. You're here to help. People aren't really going to judge you because I'm not a judgment person. I don't judge people at all, and I just want to make sure that that also when people come on here to do my podcast, my guest, I want to make sure that they know that this is a safe place, to talk. You can talk about anything. I'm not gonna judge you on anything, and people need to get stuff off their chest too. I mean, you can talk about the good, the bad. I also want people to be able to brag about their child. I mean, that's the thing that we don't get in the autism community. We don't get to brag about our children because we feel so, backlash that, since our child isn't, developing the way that, typical children do, that we feel like we can't really brag about our children. And so that's why I want to make sure that this is an open place to brag about your child, talk about the proudest moments, talk about, everything you want to talk about your child. I mean, it's open. You can say whatever you like. I'm always going to be here to help you, support you, and be happy that what your child is doing. It's just like, not a lot of people get to see that or hear that and be able to, share, be able to, sorry, get a little flustered here.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that people know that it's, I just want people to know that, it's right.
It's a safe place, and it's about sharing.
Yeah.
It's about sharing for the good of all. And so that is, I love that. Well, congratulations on taking the steps needed to go ahead and move ahead with this.
Yes.
And, is there
Thank you.
anything else that you want to share before we sign off on this first episode? Or, I just think that it's going to be amazing.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, I just want to make sure that people know, that, I don't know, it's just like a lot of things, there's so many things in my mind that I want to make, to include, but I just want to make sure that, people just know that I'm here to support you for anything and everything.
And I'm assuming, again, I'm making another assumption that you'll have contact information on the YouTube channel, and you'll be sharing that kind of stuff with everybody so they can. Of course, you could always just comment on the video, and you'll be following those comments, so you'll be able to respond.
Yes, of course. Yes. I always, of course, whenever I can, I'll always reply to your comments, reply to your messages. I mean, I'm on all platforms too. It's just my name, Inga Ogus. So for Instagram, Facebook. So what else do I have? I think I have TikTok too. But I don't go on TikTok too much. But I'm probably going to start doing that. But yeah, I do have everything is pretty much under my name, and so I'm very easy to find. And it's just connect. That's what I want to do. I just want to talk to people and help people as much as I can.
Well, again, as I said, I just think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And I'm very honored that you had me come on and speak with you on this first episode of Autism Journeys. Did I say that right? Is it Autism?
Our Autism Journeys.
Our Autism Journeys.
Yes.
So I thank you for sharing with everybody. And
that's great. Did you want to introduce yourself too? About like what you do?
It didn't seem very important for me to do that, but I guess I can. I'm Cheryl Campbell, and I actually do know Inga through a community, because we all need help with different things. We are both members of the Women's Impact Network, and yeah, I just I guess maybe I can offer my help too if anybody needs anything on helping to start an online business or any of that stuff. Um, I love to help people do that. I love to help people get their message out. And I also love to help people dive a little bit into their spirituality and infuse their business with that, because I think those two things, when they go hand in hand, have greater impact. And so I think that's a real important part of sharing your story with people, is sharing that aspect of your life too. But that's my thing. And I'm happy that, again, that you asked me to join you. And yeah, I mean, so you want to say anything before we close out? And I'll actually just turn it over to you at this point.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out like what else there is to talk about. I mean, there's, I think we put touch points with pretty much everything that we want to talk about, right? I mean,
I know that one day I would love to have you on my podcast, because I always love delving into the spirituality thing, and what, how you see your journey as being part of your spiritual journey as well. And so I won't, well, maybe I will ask you right now, would you be willing to be on my podcast too?
well, yes, of course. I mean, yeah, we got to, when would you like to schedule that? I mean,
We'll have to
and I'm
do that
open.
real soon.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, we're open. I mean, that's another thing too. I'm also, I'm looking for guests, of course. And also I'm also willing to be a guest, and so I'm, I'm open for everything, whatever that, I'm pretty much just goes with the wind. I just go, whatever, whatever comes up, I just go with the flow,
I
And
think
so,
that's important too. It's always, it's like my little mantra every day to myself is, I'm going to live my day in ease and grace and in flow.
yes,
Ease
that's the
and
best
grace
you
and
can
in
do.
flow. Yeah. It just makes life a little bit better when you try to go with the way things are, just when you roll with it.
Yes, exactly. That's actually what you learn when you have a child on the spectrum. You just kind of like have to go with it, because you don't know what's going to happen from one minute from the next. One minute they can be happy as can be, and next minute they're like, "Whew, okay, what happened?" So you just got to kind of go with it. You just like know that, like my son, he used to have tantrums so bad when he was younger, and I used to not know what to do. But then, like, as you get older and you realize what's going on with him, you kind of realize, okay, well, I've already gone through this. He's already had a tantrum like this before, and it has passed, and you'll be fine. It's just, you just got to be patient through it, and know that, it's going to go through. It's going to pass, because you can't stay in the tantrum forever. And so,
I would think that would be something really helpful for people to know too, on how to deal with that. I know, I'm not saying my son's name because I haven't asked him if it's okay,
yeah.
but when he was little, he used to have night terrors,
Mm.
and I had no idea what they were or what to do for him. And, back then there wasn't the internet for you to get on and do any kind of research or whatever. And it was really, it left you feeling so, helpless, not knowing what to do. And yeah, so again, I know I've said it multiple times, but I think this podcast is going to help a lot of people, especially new moms that
Mhm.
are dealing with this kind of thing. So again, good on you.
Yes. Oh, I also want to include too that I know it's about my podcast is called Our Autism Journeys, but I'm actually I help with other disabilities too. Like, even everyone that's on the spectrum is able to be a guest, and we can talk about all the other disabilities, and so I'm open to all the other disabilities also. So it's not just strictly autism, it's just, but just since my son is on the spectrum,
Mhm.
named it Our Autism Journeys, but anybody can reach out and talk about, other disabilities, and I'm happy to hear and, you know, share your journey with that also.
Mhm. It's
So I just
all
want,
about sharing.
yes, exactly. All
Yeah.
about sharing your journey. I mean, because everyone has one, and we all don't get to share our journeys when we have disabilities or,
Mhm.
you know, certain disabilities and whatnot. So I think it's a good for people to have a safe place to talk about that.
Yeah. Really important.
Mhm.
Really important. Well,
'Cause
thank
I know that,
you.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know that you're also gonna be a guest too, right? But you know, probably be a returning guest, right? To talk about your son. Are we still?
If yes, and I just have to find out from him if it's okay to use his name. He's actually, I always refer to him as my son, but he's a son of my heart. He's actually my stepson
Mhm.
that I met when he was just 2 years old. And you know, he's just, the way everybody always thinks about their children. He's like the love of my life, and he's such a good person. But yeah, he did have learning disabilities growing up, and I'm grateful that I had my friend Eileen that helped guide Kathy, as his biological mom, his mom, my husband's ex-wife. And Kathy and I were just so frustrated with everything. And when I discussed it with Eileen that one day, she was like, "You don't know what to ask for. That's why." And then gave me the right language. It changed everything for us. And yeah, so I would be happy to come back and share some of that, because for us, the key takeaway was that you have to work together, because there are a lot of blended families. And it's really important when you have a kid that has special needs, that you work together and you get over the silly grown-up stuff that could get in the way. And I'm just really blessed that we never had that. We've always been able to get along well and everything. And I think that makes a lot of difference, especially in, situations where, well, and I'm going to take that back. Any child in a blended family, the people that the parents that use their kids as, little, they've got to get over themselves, and they've got to put the kid first.
Mhm.
you know just so important to do that.
It's very important to put your child first. I mean,
Yeah.
I know sometimes it's hard, especially in relationships, but you know, you have to, especially when your child has special needs and you know that they need the extra attention. You
Mhm.
have to step back and, you know, I'm sure your partner would understand, you know, that you have to concentrate on the one that needs the help right now.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
so that's one thing that, you know, I can also talk about that too. Eventually I'm going to talk about relationships, you know, with having kids on the spectrum, and also, you know, of course, siblings too. Siblings go through a lot of stuff
Yeah.
also
And
with,
it's all connect, it's all connected. It's all just woven. It's almost like a spider web that, you just have all of these little nuances. And spider webs are so beautiful when you see them in the sparkling of the light, and but everything is connected. Yeah, everything is connected. So all of it is important. I'm glad you're going to be talking about all of it.
yes. Yep. Gonna be some interesting episodes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think I have anything else to share. I mean, I'm sure I'll be popping in here and there, you know, to talk about certain things and, you know, certain subjects, topics, everything in between.
Good. Well, I think this is a great start, and I hope that it gave everybody a little bit of feel for who you are as a person,
Yes,
because I think that's pretty wonderful.
be transparent,
And
you know. We
yeah,
need,
yeah. And again, thank you for having me on your first episode to chat with you.
thank you
And
for being my co-host.
yeah, and I look forward to doing it again on mine and on yours.
Yes, we'll be sharing those too.
Good, good. All right. So just say bye-bye for
Yep,
now.
yep.
All
See you
right.
on the next one.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Many blessings to you and yours.
You too.